It's coming up now. Hello, 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 everybody. This is Rochelle T.
Yeah.
Parks. I am your health motivator. Hey, guys, listen. Thank you for watching the replay. Hey, the broadcast is awesome. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it. And look, and while you're watching this replay, make sure you go back to 2 weeks ago when I had a special conversation with Miss Tiffany Montgomery, prophetess, self-made millionaire. Awesome. Make sure you go back. So come on in. Let me tell you, you're in for a treat today. You're in for a treat. We have some special guests here. We have my spouse, my husband, the man who I spend every day with, Mr. Michael L. Parks, aka Pops. Pops, say hello to the people.
Hello, hello, hello.
And
I'm sure they were trying to confuse as to which one was which, right?
I'm sure they were not. And then we also have Dr. Deidre Michelle Baker, Dr. Deedy B, the Elite MD, come through.
Yo. How y'all doing? It's a pleasure to be amongst the midst of the great Parks, y'all.
Amongst the men. In for a treat today, guys. This is awesome. This call is a game changer, right? It's a game changer. Dare I say it will save lives, right? It's already doing it. And so we come in here today. The prayer is that you not hear us, but that you hear God through us. That is our sincere prayer from each and every one of us. And so as we go forward, just be patient and just have a listening ear and an open heart, open mind. So let me share something with you. So you all know I'm Rochelle T. Parks. I'm your health motivator, certified health coach, certified personal trainer. Health and wellness is my passion. I've been in this industry for over 20 plus years. And I always say nothing gives me pleasure than to just help someone feel better. And so that's what this is all about today. It's just to help somebody feel better, right? To help somebody feel better, to help, for those who think, you know what, I'm going to be this way for the rest of my life and there's nothing I can do about it. That's not true. You know what, this medication, I've been told I have to take this for the rest of my life. You know what, that's not true, right? That's not true. And so that's what I want to share some statistics with you. And so if you don't know, the topic today is diabetes, and specifically type 2 diabetes. And so I want to share some stats with you. So just listen to this for a second. So it says in 2018, 34.2 million Americans, or 10.5% of the population, had diabetes, right? It says, now this says nearly 1.6 million Americans have type 1 diabetes, including about 187,000 children and adolescents. Now, listen to this staggering number. The 34.2 million adults with diabetes, 26.8 million were diagnosed and 7.3 million were undiagnosed. Okay, remember that, undiagnosed. Okay, let's talk about our seniors. The percentage of Americans aged 65 and older remains high at 26.8%, or 14.3 million seniors, right? That's diagnosed and undiagnosed. And now listen to this. It says already 1.5 million Americans are diagnosed with diabetes every year. 1.5 million, that's a staggering number. And then we talk about pre-diabetes. It says in 2015, 88 million Americans aged 18 and older had pre-diabetes. Asking yourself, what is pre-diabetes? And we're going to get to that in a second. But 88 million, guys, that's 34.5% of the adult U.S. population. Okay, so let's put some definitions to this, because some of you, I know we've heard type diabetes. We've heard about type 2 diabetes. We've heard, it used to be called adult onset diabetes, and it's no longer called that. Because why? Because younger people are getting it every day. And so to put your mind at ease, I want to ask Dr. Deedy B, the Elite MD, if you could just tell us what exactly is diabetes, Dr. Deedy? What is it?
Right, exactly. I just want to tell the people real quick. I was a nurse, graduated in '06. I've been a nurse, RN, since that time. I've also have a master's in management, and then I started a resident physician job on July 6th down in Selma, Alabama. Just credentials, but also disclaimer, I'm not here to give you any medications. I'm not here to prescribe anything. I'm here to educate you and point you in the great direction of living life till its fullest. And that's what our topic is, right? To live and not die. Also, Coach Rowe is not paying me money or anything like that, guys. This is all love. We're groups in here together to help people become the best and better them. So let's get to it. So diabetes, it's like this metabolic syndrome. Most people know diabetes as hyperglycemia, meaning there's just too much sugar. And they have these set numbers that people kind of think about. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm gonna go just a little bit deeper into hyperglycemia being one of our issues that I think people get kind of mixed up of what diabetes is. It is a full metabolic syndrome. So when we talk about diabetes, the first thing people think about, right, is either we don't have insulin or we have a resistance to insulin, right? So when we eat, sugar goes in our body and insulin is released from our pancreas, right? What the insulin job is to kind of bump these cell gates to open so that the cells can utilize glucose for energy. That's basically the whole job. Your body can't live without sugar. It needs glucose to live. And there's a lot of energy that it requires, for that glucose to be utilized. What happens in specifically type 2 diabetes, because we're talking about resistance, either that insulin gets burnt out or either there's just insulin builds. So insulin job is like, I told Coach Roy, is like Pac-Man, right? It goes, if you see the screen on Pac-Man, there's glucose everywhere. Insulin's job is to go and kind of move that glucose into cells to be utilized. But at some point in time, for type 2 diabetics, it gets burnt out, or there's too much of glucose inside the cell that it can't keep opening that gate for glucose to get inside of it. So what happens to the glucose? It stays elevated in the blood. So that's why you have those high numbers, because the cells can no longer, there's only so much glucose the cells can use before it starts spilling into the bloodstream, and then it starts storing it into fat. So basically you have too much glucose in your system, and we have hyperglycemia. Now, in addition, go ahead, Coach.
No, go ahead. Finish that. Go ahead.
In addition to that, people understand that because glucose is elevated, right, and they have hyperglycemia, you see certain numbers, right, on your lab exams that people are constantly concerned about. Some of those numbers, how we diagnose diabetes, will be if we just randomly tested your blood to see how high that sugar number is. So on two separate occasions, say we randomly tested and it's above 200s, then we would say, hey, we should start, moving toward whether or not we need to start treatment or start talking about some things. Another way we do it is we check a HbA1c. So if there's a glucose stuck to your red blood cells over the course of 3 months, we measure it to kind of see what your average glucose has been over a course of time. That number greater than 6.5, then we say, hey, diabetes. Another way we might do it is we give you a sugary drink, 75 grams. We test your sugar before and after. If it goes above 200 on that particular test, then we say, hey, you have diabetes. Just randomly testing if it's above 126. So there's all these ways that medical professionals are labeling or diagnosing diabetes, and where that sugar is above these levels, that's when you start having complications.
Okay, so here's a question, just so people, for us lay people, right? That's why you're here, to help us to understand it and simplify it. So when a person eats something, I guess sugary, that may spike their blood sugar, is that when insulin comes in to supposedly do its job? When is the insulin secreted? And like, yeah, what's
Right.
okay.
I'm trying to keep it kind of basic. There's multiple
Okay.
ways that your body um, utilizes sugar, or when you eat,
Mm-hmm.
that your body is activated for glucose to be controlled. One of
Got
the
it.
ways is the brain to the pituitary, your adrenal glands. It's called the glucostat. Another way is your liver produces its own glucose, like glucose, they call it gluconeogenesis. So it produces its own sugar on its own level, not
Mm-hmm.
requiring insulin to open up a gate for it. And then your pancreas, right? When you eat, your pancreas has this automatic like response. So when it goes through your stomach and it causes dilation, there's these nerves, right, that stimulate your body. It goes down to your duodenum. Your pancreas senses things, and then it's from the B cells, and then it excretes insulin. That's There's all these neurohormonal things that's happening throughout the body because the whole body requires glucose. It can't run without it. So the whole
Mm-hmm.
point of the things that we eat, the fats, the proteins, the carbs, it's all going to be some way, shape, or form broken down so we can have energy for the cells that we need in order for our body to do what it does. And that's just to live. So glucose is like it's like the fettuccine of our bodies. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that thing that we want the most. That's kind of what our bodies is doing. It's necessary for us to live.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
That's something. You said the fettuccine.
Yeah.
The way God made these, I'm always amazed. Every time I learn something, I'm always amazed because I think I think he knew what he was doing when he put these bodies together. He has all these safety mechanisms in place, all these fail safe things, because even when we don't do what we're supposed to do, right? He has
That's
all these
right.
things. And so this is what I say, and you've heard me say this before. How we feel every day has everything to do with what we put in our bodies and what we expose it to, right? And so this food. I always say food is the foundation. Food
Right.
is the foundation. And so diabetes, guys, this is serious. Like I said, 34.2 million Americans, or 10.5% of the US population, has diabetes. This was in 2018. Well, we're in 2020, so I know that number has gone up because the food is not getting any better. It's getting worse. And right. So our health is not getting any better. So let me tell you why we're here today, why we call this session, just to share. And let me take you to let me take you back to April 5th, around 10 a.m. or so. I was rushing to the emergency room because his was through the roof, right? And so that was April 5th. But let me for April 5th and tell you what I observed leading up to April 5th. And so we talk about COVID-19, guys. COVID-19, I know, has been just a tragic time for a lot of people. People have lost loved ones. People have lost jobs. I'm here to tell you that because of COVID-19, it's been a blessing to the Parks household. Because of COVID-19, my husband was home and I to observe some things, because had I not been able to do that, I don't know if we would be talking here today. It would be a different conversation, I believe. But if you rewind back, I believe the first day my kids were home, when they said everybody stay home, was March 16th. And then somewhere a few days after that, within that week, my husband was working from home. Now, I recall him telling me prior to that, he was at work and he was like, Ro, I've been thirsty a lot. I've just been drinking a lot of water. I've been going to the bathroom, just drinking water. And I heard him, but I didn't see it. So it didn't really stand out to me. It wasn't until he came home and I'm actually observing, and I'm like, he's drinking a lot of water and he's going to the bathroom a lot. And so guys, listen, 20 years in health and wellness. I have a bachelor of science degree in medical technology. I went to high school for the health profession. Dr. Deedy, you know, that's why I admire her so, because I wanted to go to medical school, right? So I know a little bit, you know, a few things. And so I'm observing and I'm like, he's thirsty, he's drinking a lot of water, he's going to the bathroom. And you know, him and my youngest daughter were doing this vision testing at the TV, and I noticed his vision was affected, like more than mine. And normally he had 20/20 vision. And I said to him, I think your glucose is elevated. And he was like, why do you say that? I said, man, listen. And I keep saying, I know a few things. I said, and I mean, you're going to the bathroom, you're drinking a lot of water, your vision. I said, you remember that thing at the TV, your vision? And so I went to CVS. I said, I'm going to get a glucose meter. And so that was that Friday. So that was March 3rd. I went to CVS. I got a glucose meter, and I didn't know. I've never gotten one. Figuring it must be something I can get over the counter. I went and got it. I read the directions, and I said, let's test your blood sugar. And the first time I tested it, it was 3 something. It was high 3, which is high. Now I promise you guys, you're probably thinking, oh man, that's extremely high. Now had I known now, we probably would have gone to the emergency room then, but I didn't. But I went into health coach, right? Rochelle T. Parks, that, you know, the health motivator. I said, oh no, we got to reverse this. So I started giving them salads, you know, smoothies, you know, because with Shackley smoothie mix is low glycemic. I started doing all these things, and it did go down for a second. I remember Pops can tell you it did go down, and I remember I made this one particular smoothie, and he just had this burst of energy. Because what I didn't tell you, let me go back. He had started to get really, really tired, really fatigued. And when he went upstairs on Thursday, he said, I just want to go upstairs to lay down. That was the last time he didn't come back downstairs until we were going to the emergency room. So he upstairs I don't remember if that was Thursday morning, Thursday evening, but I know that was the last time he was downstairs. And the kids were unaware. I'm just going up back and forth. I'm tired. I just want to get some sleep. And I tested this. So I started giving them salads and things. And at one time he got a burst of energy, but it went away quickly, and he was back laying down again. He's using the bathroom, you know, urinating like every 10 minutes. And I said, you know what? I don't know about this. And then so we fast forward, you know, and we go through a whole 24 hours of this, you know, and I'm still trying to reverse it, and I'm giving them food. And Sunday morning, you know, we wake up to a friend on the phone, and this is right in the midst of COVID, Dr. D. So if anybody had heard him, because his breathing was labored as well, they would immediately thought he had COVID-19. I mean, you know, that he had the corona. They would have thought he had the corona because his breathing was labored. And I don't think this is corona, man. This is not a lung issue. This is a cellular issue. I mean, I just knew that. And so, and man, you got bronchitis, you know, you need to get some tea with honey and lemon and whatever. And I said, well, I don't want to be stubborn. So I got up and I made it, because I said, just on the off chance that I'm wrong, let me get the honey and the lemon and the vitamin C. So I went and got it. This was on a Sunday morning. This was March 5th. April 5th, that Sunday morning. So I gave him the honey, the tea with the honey, gave him the vitamin C's, and he's, you know, laid back down. I said, okay, well, I'm about to go downstairs and work out. True story, guys. I said, I'm about to go downstairs and work out. I had my workout clothes on, went downstairs, right? I came downstairs, and I don't know. The only explanation I have is Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit said, go back up and check his blood sugar. And I'm talking like I'm talking to God. I'm like, well, God, I just gave him tea and a smoothie, you know. I know the blood sugar is going to be elevated. And he said, check it anyway. And I went back upstairs and I checked his blood sugar, and the glucose meter didn't even read. It just said high. And I remember Pop said, what does it say? And I turned around and I said, it says hi. And I said, this is not good. And so I went downstairs. I said, I got to call the emergency room. And so I called, and I'm retired military. So I called the nearest military installation. I called the emergency room. I told them, what happened. They said, okay, you need to get him to a big hospital. I was like, what? 3 minutes away. Why can't I bring him there? And they said, well, this is urgent care. And if he needs that type of care, we're going to have to transfer him anyway. And that's just going to delay his treatment. Get him to the bed. It's okay, great. I go back upstairs. I'll wake up my son because the kids are. I said, okay, I need your help just in case, I got to get your daddy down to the car. I got to take him to the emergency room. He was like, what? What's going on? Because the kids, again, were unaware. They just thought their daddy was upstairs resting since Thursday. They didn't know. And so we get him dressed. That was probably about a 40-minute ordeal because he's so fatigued, like could barely move. And so we get him finally to the car. He said, I can make it. Because I said, you can't make it to the bathroom. How you going to make it to the car? He said, Ro, I can make it. And so he made it. By this time, the girls are up. They see him. I said, we just there and he's going to be okay. Still not knowing what had happened, what was going on. And I told him before we left, I said, now, you're going to come out of here with some medication. I said, but we just got to get you to the hospital. We get your blood sugar stabilized. I bring you back home. We reverse this diet and exercise, and you're going to be on your way. And we get off this medication. He said, okay, that was the deal, right? So we get him there. By the time I get to the emergency room, he was so fatigued, he couldn't walk. He said, I can't make it. I go in, they pull the wheelchair out, they take him in. And then that was it. I couldn't even, because of COVID, you couldn't even stay in the emergency room. And that was scary, So I basically turned my husband over and I had to walk away.
Yeah. I'm going to talk just a little bit about those symptoms that I have. So like, I know you guys live this I don't even think it's a full month, maybe, Coach. So I know it's near and dear to your heart. And Pops, I know we coming to you. This is so important that family members are educated on what to do, Coach. I can't tell you how angelic it is to hear that you're watching your husband and you're just saying, it's not right. It looks like this, it looks like that. Thank God for some of your medical background that helped you come to such a great conclusion. When you were saying that he was having polyuria, remember a minute ago I talked about this glucose just being in the blood system, right? So it's sitting out there. It's spilling over because there's so much glucose because the insulin, right, can't shove it into the cells to use it as energy anymore. So when you say Pop was peeing all the time, we call it polyuria. The kidneys cannot reabsorb more than, I think it's greater than 180. So what happens is the glucose starts spilling into your urine. Well, when glucose and electrolytes get into your urine, it pulls water with it. So then you're constantly peeing, right? But when you're constantly losing water and you're constantly peeing, what happens? You get thirsty, right? We call it polydipsia. So that's why Pop constantly, before he could start, finishing one thing of water, he at the refrigerator getting another thing of water.
Yeah.
Sometimes you probably noticed it, and he was getting something sugary, putting more sugar back into his body to spill over, right? And then so we got polyuria, we got polydipsia. A lot of people get polyphagia, meaning that you're constantly hungry. We call diabetes, or oftentimes, it's this starvation thing because the cells, right, they can't get any more energy. So we call it like this starvation thing. The body feels like it's starving, but really it has excess. This is in type 2, not type 1, remember? Also, I remember you telling me about the frothy urine. There's ketones in the urine. So then, it's causing the urine to be different. Also acidosis, that Kussmaul, we call it Kussmaul breathing, that labored breathing that he had. All of this is pathognomonic for diabetes. And it's also pathognomonic for people to be in what we call DKA, and it's an emergency. So I'm gonna turn it over to Pops because I know he has his own testimony about how this all went down.
Wow. I don't even know where to start. So I'm gonna start here with this. This is my picture of remembrance. This is the picture that they gave me when I was in the hospital that I was drinking water from. And I've been drinking water from it ever since I left the hospital. Every day, this is what I drink my water in, just so I can remember what happened. Because I believe that sometimes when things happen to us that's serious in nature, and we take it for granted that we're just going to pull through and get through it, and then we don't think much about it afterwards. And so when I came out of the hospital, I told Rochelle that I didn't want to forget what happened, because even though I had not fully recovered at the time, the main issue that was, I would say, plaguing me, that really was a blessing, and if nothing else changed, I think I would have been okay, was the frequent urination. It was, I can't even really describe how, I mean, like, I look back on it and well, man, I was really using the bathroom a lot. But this for about a month and a half, almost 2 months. And it took me about 2 weeks of it happening before I started recording the amount I went to the bathroom prior to being admitted to the hospital. And the reason I was just collecting data and trying to determine how much time I had in between breaks, how much would I be able to get, particularly I went to sleep or attempted to go to sleep, because in hindsight, I really didn't sleep for about a month. And the reason I noticed is because I was, time in between bathrooms, maybe half hour, 45 minutes, maybe it got as high as 3 hours one time. And that was only because I stopped drinking water and I was just sucking on ice cubes just to try to minimize the amount of water. But still, it was like, even though I wasn't taking in much water, it seemed like more was coming out than was going in. And so I still didn't have a lot of relief. And so it was funny because every time I get to the point when I was about to doze off and go to sleep, my body was like, oh, gotta go. It was this strong urge. And I go to the bathroom, it was a lot. And then I'll come back, I'm like, whoo, got the relief. Think I'm gonna lay down and go to sleep. No, right when I'm about to doze off, I gotta get up again. And the challenge was, like, I was getting to the point where I was like really considering whether or not I was gonna get some Depends, because I was like, that's the only way I can get some sleep. I'm just gonna let it go. And so, but the thing is, I was just trying to hang on and just hoping that things would change for some, because I didn't really know what was going on. So just fast forward a little bit to the hospital, being in the ICU. Oh, by the way, I don't know if Rochelle's mentioned, but when I went to the hospital April 5th, which was a Sunday, and when they admitted me, the doctor, one of the first words he said to me was, Mr. Park, you're a very sick man. And those words just was like kind of weird to me, because I had never been admitted to a hospital before. I'd never been on any medication, never been in any ICU by my, not being the person in the bed. I've been in ICU visiting someone, but being in there, and he was just saying that that's the bad news. The good news is we're going to take good care of you, and but we're going to keep you for at least 3 days. And then after he said that, he was asking me like what was going on, and I kind of explained to him what I just told you about, going to the bathroom pretty frequently. And I was telling him how I didn't sleep for over a month, because by the time I get sleepy enough, it was time to go to the bathroom. And he told me that it was good that I didn't go to sleep, because I probably wouldn't have woke up. The situation with my body, and the thing is, it still didn't hit me what was going on, because like when he said that, I didn't really have any context. It was just what I went through. And I think it really started to sink in after I came home from the hospital, because the conversation that the doctor was having with me was different from the conversation that the doctor was having with my wife. The doctor was telling my wife on Sunday that it was pretty serious and precarious, and I need to make it through the night. But the doctor wasn't sure that I was going to make it through the night. That's what he was talking to my wife. But to me, he was just saying, you're a very sick man. We're going to keep you in the hospital for at least 3 days. And then, we're going to get you fixed up and everything. And getting back to what I was saying earlier was as far as getting fixed up. When they took me in the hospital, I didn't have any solid food for 3 days. They put me on an insulin drip. And then by the time, by the time I got out of the hospital, it felt like amazing to not have to be going to the bathroom frequently. I so appreciated going to the bathroom regularly.
Right.
And so I had all these other things that I had to deal with because when I left the hospital, I was prescribed with insulin and metformin, which I'm sure you're pretty aware of.
That's right.
And I had to shoot myself 4 times a day with the insulin, and I had to pop a metformin at least once a day. And even though in my heart of hearts, I didn't really want to take that medication. And from the moment the doctor told me that I was going to be on medication for the rest of my life, I didn't really want to accept that, because right. I just felt like it had to be something mistake or, like this can't be happening, because like I live with the health motivator. Right. And it's probably people like wondering like, how does that even happen when you live with Rochelle T. Parks? And the simple answer is we make our own choices. And that's what this is all about. To live and not die, the choice is yours. That's what this is all about. It doesn't matter if I live with the health motivator. If I was Tiger Woods' brother, that won't make me a good golfer. Just because I live with Tiger Woods.
That's right.
So the thing is, I make my own choices. I'm a grown man, and I make the decision to put whatever it is I put in my body. I make the decision to do whatever I want to this body, and that may not always be a good thing. Yeah. And so that's the simple answer. The simple answer is I made my choice, and now the consequences of the choices that I made was winding up in the hospital with DKA, with a blood sugar over 600, an A1C of 15, and 1 or 2 days away from meeting my maker.
Right.
And so that was the consequences of my choices. And so the reason why I'm here to tell this story is because I feel like, first of all, let me just say for people who may be listening, that I reiterate the fact that when I left the hospital on the 9th of April, I was prescribed with insulin and metformin. I had to take, and some of the people who may be listening that are aware of diabetes or what have you, I had to take 21 units of long-acting insulin for 24 hours to last for 24 hours, and then I had to take 3 shots of 9 units each before each meal. So that's 4 shots a day, and then early in the day I had to take the metformin. And so that was on the 9th when I left the hospital. And bear in mind also, the day before I left the hospital and really right after they took me off the insulin drip and when they started shooting me in the hospital with needles, my short range vision started to go bad. And so Rochelle was talking earlier about my vision going bad earlier on before I came in the hospital. It was weird because that was my mid-range vision. My mid-range vision went blurry before I got to the hospital, and my close range vision was fine. And thankfully so, because I work on a computer every day, and it's really helpful to be able to see my computer with no problem. But the day before I left the hospital, my mid-range vision turned to HD and was like phenomenal. But my short range vision went to crap. I couldn't see anything. And so it was like really, really blurry. Like I couldn't even focus. Me moving in and out was doing nothing. I couldn't even focus. It was just, I couldn't see squat. I mean, nothing. It was like, it was just, I just couldn't, it was looked like I was looking through like a stained glass window. That's how bad it was. And so, and even still, I was still happy that my mid-range was HD and I could see mid-range and far away. So I was happy about that. I was happy also about the fact that I could use the bathroom regularly and not be going like as many times as I was. And I literally, I was saying to the Lord, I was like, I thank you. I was grateful. And I was like saying, if this is what I got to live with, I deserve this. You know, in fact, I may even deserve worse. But who am I to complain about what was happening when I did it to myself? You know? And so I was like, I'm gonna have to deal with this. And so I was prepared to deal with the site being what it was. I figured that it wasn't going to come back. And then, but I didn't accept the medication, even though I was taking it. I took it as prescribed every day until the 17th of April. And so also it's worth noting that the attending physician, God bless him, he's proven himself to be a person that really, really cares about patients, even though he didn't tell me a lot of the things that I wanted to hear. In fact, the very first time when he told me that I was going to be on medication for the rest of my life. And I think he told me that, and this is in hindsight, I think he told me that because my situation was so dire when I came into the hospital that was what his medical experience told him. His medical experience told him that someone that comes in with full-fledged DKA that can barely move, with a blood sugar of over 600 and A1C of 15, this person has to be on medication for the rest of their life. And
so can I explain those numbers a little bit more so that the people can understand exactly what happened? Because you're getting to the meat of I think where we're going to transition. So I'm just going to break down, because what you're saying is so vital. One of the things you talked about is your HbA1c being 15. Remember, I said we diagnosed diabetes at 6.5, right? We automatically put people on insulin at an HbA1c at 10, right? When you start getting above 12 and 15, you're right. You're in some zones that, are critical. And even though we're talking about type 2 diabetes, you were an oxymoron for me. That's why I found you to be so interesting, because, we're taught that, type 1 diabetics, right, is more familiar with DKA, so forth and so on. But we found out in the last 20 or so years, right, that even older, people can go into DKA and it be like, like a happenstance. Like it could be autoimmune, it could be some other things that happen, injury to the pancreas, where they are, like getting acidotic, meaning, your pH, right, normal is 7.4 and you're 7.1 and you're creating ketones. So then, there's certain ways that we say DKA versus type 2 diabetics, because it's insulin resistance and they have insulin in their body, their blood sugars can get up into the thousands. And then you start seeing those coma kind of, and these symptoms that you was talking about. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, because you're talking about your vision and how these symptoms were affecting you, the complications of diabetes is tremendous over the body. Remember, I told you what insulin does is it builds, it stores. That's its whole point. There's an opposite hormone called glucagon that tears it down. And that's going to be the benefit that you guys are going to talk about in just a second. But just about insulin, when they're giving you insulin, right, it's still storing. And then when it's created into the body, it's storing. But when there's too much glucose, it turns it into fat. Well, these fat cells and all of this sugar in your vessels, right, it creates these microvascular and macrovascular complications. That's when we start talking about heart. So MIs, which we call myocardial infarctions, that everybody knows is as heart attacks, is increased by like 14% in people with diabetes, with HbA1cs of these high numbers. Also, when we're talking about like your lipid levels and things like that, because it is being stored at fat, they're elevated. So you had increased complications for these heart attacks. Also, your kidneys. You guys know that people, people that are diabetic and then they have to go on dialysis, right?
Yeah.
They're spilling proteins into their urine, so forth and so on. And it's all because of, they're having this vascular disease from too much sugar in their system. Peripheral neuropathy, people always talking about diabetic foot. You got to check their feet all the time. They got to wear proper shoes, things like that, because they're having the complications of that sugar blocking the ability for them to feel. They get we call hand and glove syndrome, but pins and needles, numbness, tingling. So all of these things that you're talking about is important, but especially the eyes. They have to go get their eyes checked because it's such small vessels, and they lose their vision so quickly because of these high levels. So I just want to let them know these blood sugars of over 600 and HbA1cs that are elevated to this level, it exacerbates these symptoms and complications further and much quicker.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
No, we definitely appreciate that's great information. I think where I was I was speaking to the heights of the numbers and why, I believe the doctor told me that I was going to be on medication for the rest of my life. And, I was just telling you also how much I appreciated him because, I always say he gave it to me straight without a chaser. He didn't necessarily tell me the things that I really wanted to hear, but he has not had, because I'm still dealing with him and talking to him regularly, compassion and empathy for his patients. And, he has a lot of knowledge and experience, but I challenged him. The moment he said, you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life, I said, let me get this straight. So are you saying that it's impossible for someone to get off this medication? And had he said impossible, I would have lost all respect for him. But he backed it up. He didn't double down. He backed it up. And then he said, well, it's going to be at least 3 years. He said at least 3 years. And even though 3 years is a little bit better than for the rest of your life, unless the rest of your life is only going to be less than 3 years, 3 years is better than the rest of your life, but it still wasn't good because he said at least. So that means I'm looking forward to at least 3 years. That wasn't cool with me either. I wasn't I was like, no, and so he looked a little frustrated with me because I was challenging him on that. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he's probably saying, I'm just paraphrasing, and he never said this, and I'm just, like cartoon with a bubble over his head. Don't you know how sick you are? How dare you? How dare you tell me you're not going to be on medication? What are you talking about? You some kind of fool or something? Boy?
Right, delusional. Right.
So I think he was frustrated, because of that. But then it didn't stop. It's just that I felt like he was dug in a lot. So I didn't press the issue like that time. It's just over time, every time I saw him, I was like Urkel and Lord, wearing him down. And then, one day, the day before I left, the day before I was discharged, we had a heart to heart. It was just me and him in the room, and we had a good chat. And I think that's when I built up a lot of trust and faith in him, because we had a real conversation. It was almost like he took his white coat off. Right. And we just had a real conversation. And I was just telling him how I just don't think that I'm supposed to be on this medication. And I said, I can't really explain it other than the fact that I had no medical, backing or, support for that thought. It just didn't feel right. And so, and I said, I need to work. I told him, I said, I need to work with a doctor that at the very least believes I can get off. And so he said with his own mouth that he believed it. It's just that he just thought it was going to be a long road ahead. He said, prepare for a long road ahead. That's what he said. And he should have said that, but that I kept wearing him down. And then I had a couple of conversations with a doctor, well, two other doctors, one doctor that didn't really resonate with me too well. And then I had a nurse who was phenomenal, who gave me a lot of great information, more information than the actual doctor did, the other doctor, not the attending. And then I had the quote unquote, I put quotes on it, diabetes specialist, because that's what they called her. But it just seemed like she just had it in for me, meaning like she just saw me as a walking medicine bucket, because she was trying to prescribe me with everything and try to increase my insulin. Even though my first checkup, her own admission, my numbers were like phenomenal. How can my number be phenomenal coming out of this side of her neck, but in this side of her neck, she said, but we need to up your insulin. And so I said, unbelievable. I said, no, I said decline, because I don't have to take it. You told me that's your recommendation, decline. And so she's like, well, we could just give it another week. It's worth noting that was the first and the last time I consulted with her after leaving the hospital. Because that day when she said that, I believe the next day or two after that, I know for a fact it was on the 17th of April that I spoke to the attending, which was a day or so after I had that conversation with her. And I called Doc. His name is Dr. Odom, by the way. And I said, Doc, I said I had the consult with the diabetes specialist, and I said I think all she wants to do is keep me on medicine and put me on more medication. And he said, Mr. Parks, you may be right. He said, because I too believe you should be on more medication. This was on the 17th of April when he said this. I too believe. So he said, like I told you, I was getting shot 4 times with a needle a day. He thought that the insulin should have been upped to maybe 50 something units or something like that. And I was only taking one metformin, 500 milligrams of metformin, and I was scheduled. Okay, that was on day 8 leaving the hospital, because I left the hospital on the 9th. On the 8 days later, on the 17th, on the Friday, I spoke to him about this. I was scheduled for a double dose of metformin at the end of 2 weeks. Right. And so I never made it to 2 weeks. But he was telling me I needed to be all the way up to 6 metformin a day, 2 per meal. That's what he told me. And once again, he's basing that on how serious my situation was. Exactly. And I think once he told me that, I kind of went into the mode where I was just basically presenting logic to him. I was trying to combat everything he was saying with logic, because I couldn't stand up to him medically.
Right. And that's why I want to, because I know you guys are going to get to something else, and I don't want to forget this. If you're on this call, please do not stop medication, change your medication without consulting your physician. That's not what we're getting. We're getting into. So just be sure that we're not prescribing medication. We're not trying to change your regimen. We're giving you a testimony so you can understand. You know how people whisper to the person ear next to them, and by the time it gets to the 20th person, it didn't turn into something totally different. So that's not what we want to do. We don't want to do that. But what I do want to say is how Coach Rowe just gave these stats at the beginning of the call about how many people are diagnosed with diabetes. Most of those people are screened for diabetes because they have hypertension, right? They come in, every patient gets basic things, guys, vitals, right? You come in, first of all, we look at you. Let's just start. We look at you, right? If you're overweight, right? Your BMI is over a certain level, we're going to start screening you for diabetes, right? Then you sit in the chair, you get your vitals taken, right? Your blood pressure is elevated, correct? You're going to get screened for diabetes, right? When we screen you for diabetes and these numbers come back, at a particular level, then we start medication. But in addition to that, right, then we do labs now, right? Then you got the lipid profile. People are coming back elevated, right? Because they got this fatty buildup, obesity, so forth and so on. I don't want to get into that. But then, okay, now you had an increased complication because I just told you the sugar is high, we're starting to store fat. So then you mount that up, and then you got complications with a heart attack. We don't want that to happen. So then we put you on statins to prevent that, right? Then we put you on blood pressure medicine to prevent you having a stroke, right? All of these things are complications of obesity and insulin resistance, right? On top of that, right, we can't have your blood sugar to constantly keep making fat. So then we got to put you on medications to decrease that. All of this so you can live. All of this so you can live. So when you come into the doctor's office, you know, it's one thing. When you go to the hospital and you in your situation with 600s and HbA1c 15, listen, we're trying to save your life. This ain't about, this is not about, oh, we're trying to just dump medications on you. Man, we got books like everybody else. We pull it up on our phone, up to date, boom, HbA1c. Okay, we got to follow this protocol. You guys, this is a part of the complication of a metabolic syndrome. It's not just one organ that's dysfunctional. Your whole body is dysfunctional. So we mound you up with medication because we're trying to save your life. And Pops, you know that I've told you this. You are one of those people that were highly motivated to do something different. And I know we're about to talk about that so that people can know that this just wasn't, oh, I'm just not going to take my medications. I don't want to take my medications. I don't want to listen to the diabetic educator, because they know that the people that come in there, like if they don't do something, they're going to end up on dialysis. They're going to have heart attacks. It could cost them their life. Like they said, if you went to sleep, you might not have woken up. What do? We put you on insulin drips. We try to close the acid, we call it an anion gap to save your life. You know, your body can't go below, you know, a certain amount of your pH going low. We got to close the gap. We got to give you fluids. You're so dehydrated. Your body is shutting down if you don't have fluids. We got to give you fluids. We got to get this sugar low. We're trying to save your life. So to live and not die, right? You were in such emergency complications that's what they tried to do. They tried to make sure that in the next few months, right, we gave you as much hope as we possibly can through medication, right, that we possibly could, if you didn't do these changes you're about to talk about right now.
Right. Wait a minute. And before you go there, Pops, let me just interject for 1 second, because so I understood both sides, right? I understood both sides when he was in the hospital, and, you know, he was frustrated, and he kept, they're trying to say I'm gonna be on medication, but I don't, you know, and he kept saying, I did this to myself, I can undo it. And I believe that to be true, but I also know, I kept saying, Pops, they don't know you. I said, I know you. They don't know you from Adam. They just know how you came in here, and they're going to treat you like what they saw when you came in here. And so, and I said, you know how many people have said, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna change. They don't, because in their mind, you didn't have to be here. You didn't, so that they had no reason to believe that you would change, you know, and as Dr. Deedy said, they were just trying to save his life. And so I saw both sides, because on one hand, I'm like, man, we can't eat this food they're giving us. I said, man, you can't eat this food on this menu. We're not counting this. We're not just like Weight Watchers. We're not doing this. We're going to eat some real food. You know, we can reverse this, but I still understood their reluctance, or their, you know, they were looking at him like he was delusional. They were like, man, you didn't bump your head, you know, you know. So I know that's what they were thinking, but I was like, no, we just got to get out of here. We just got to get out of here, and we're going to turn this thing around, is what I was thinking. But so I'm trying to battle, trying to keep him calm, because they weren't listening. But I'm like, but listen, man, they don't know you. They just know how you came in here. But okay, go ahead, Pops, back to you.
Yeah. So I was speaking to the doctor on the 17th, Friday, the 17th of April. And I was frustrated because I basically felt as if the diabetes specialist was trying to keep me and put me on more medication. He was in agreement. He basically said maybe she probably is, because he thought that I should be on more insulin and I should be on 6 metformin rather than 1 a day. And so I think at the moment when he said that, I just immediately just saw myself either being in a 3-year plan that he had carved out for me, or, as I told the doc, going rogue and just saying, I'm not taking this medicine. And I'm so thankful. I think the Lord, he knew. I'm not saying I think. I know he knew. he knew what I was thinking. He's like, oh Lord, let me move on this doctor right quick. Let me move on this doctor right quick. So I started pulling all my logic out of my bag because I'm pretty good at debating. And so I was bringing out all these great points that he could not dispute. All he just kept saying was, this is what it is or whatever. And then finally, it was like, I don't know if he was exasperated or anything like that. But for those who people who read the Bible, in Luke, it talks about this lady and the unjust judge. And she was just pressing this joker to give her some justice. And he just kept sending her away. And she was so persistent. And finally, he's like, all right, he gave her what she wanted. And, right. So basically, I was just pressing him so much. He just paused. And then he said, okay, Mr. Parks, I tell you what we're going to do. He said, just stop taking your medication. It almost like he said it out of spite. Like, okay, Mr. Smart Guy, he didn't say this. I'm just adding to it. All right, Mr. Smart Guy, I don't want to be on medication for the rest of my life. All right, stop taking your medication and we're going to see what happens tomorrow. You're going to be right back on it because your blood sugar is going to shoot up over 2 and you'll be right back on it and I'll never hear from you again and you'll be on board with the program. That's me saying what he was saying in his head, okay? And so when he said it, you could have knocked me over with a feather because he was so dug in that I never thought he would say those words. But when he said it, as I shared with you, I had 2 sets of emotions. I had fear and I had excitement. And I had fear because right before he said, stop taking your medication, I just said, Doc, I just want to see what my body can do. How can I rely on these numbers that he was like giddy about? He was over the moon with my numbers because he's like, these are some great numbers, just like the other doctor. She was like, these are some great numbers. And I said, no, they're not. It's like, what do you mean? They're not good numbers because there's only because I'm on medication that they're just low.
Right.
So how can we get excited over medically induced glucose numbers? Let's see what my body can do for real. If it's high, so be it. But until I know what my body can do, it's like the longer I'm on this medication, the harder it's going to be to get off. And this is what I said prior to him saying, stop taking your medication. But he said, I want you to make me 2 promises. The first promise I want you to make, if you feel disoriented or feel, weak or, some kind of way strange, I want you to go straight to the emergency room. And the second promise I need you to make is if you come off your medication and your glucose goes over 200, that you'll start taking your insulin again. And I say, yeah, I would have said yeah to anything because he said, stop taking your medication. But that was where the fear came in because me not stop taking my medication means that now my body had to step up to the plate and perform. Because if my body didn't step up to the plate and perform, then I would have to be on medication. Because he told me that when he told me that to stop taking my medication, he said the reason why I'm telling you this is because you seem like the type of person that until you get proof that your body cannot do the job that this medication can, you're not going to be on board with this program. And he said, so for your own good, I'm doing this for you. And in his mind, he just thought tomorrow I was going to be right back on my medication, come back with my tail between my legs. But what happened was when that night I was kind of afraid to go to sleep because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how my body was going to respond. I didn't know how I was going to be feeling, but I was kind of afraid. And I stayed up late until I actually fell asleep. I didn't go to sleep. I fell asleep because my body just finally drifted off and I stopped thinking about it. And then I woke up. I woke up. I was like, okay. And then when I checked my numbers in my fasting in the morning, my numbers were lower than they were when I was on the medication. And I was like, I made it through the night with no medication. And then Rochelle was like, well, let's keep going. We can get going and going. We went through the whole day. I made it through one day, no medication. So that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it just so happens I had a phone conversation with Dr. Odom on Monday. So by the time I called him on Monday, I had to send him my glucose numbers. And then he we picked up, when we started talking, it was almost like, I didn't tell Rochelle this, or maybe I did, but it was almost like he was expecting my numbers to go high, and he was looking for any reason for my numbers to be high. So he said, "What's up with this 230?" And I was like, 230? I ain't never had a 230, that I had a reading. It turns out that he was looking at my weight.
His weight.
He was looking at my weight.
Yeah.
He was looking at my weight. And then I was like, and he said, "Oh, that is your weight." He said, "I'm sorry." And then I said, "Doc, I am pleased to report to you that it's 72 plus hours and I have not taken any of your medication." And so he was so excited. He would say, "These numbers are incredible. These numbers are incredible." I mean, like, he was so demonstrative, and I felt good, but like I said, I was relieved too, because I was like, I'm done. Pack it up, I'm done, right? But now he was like, "Let's keep the experiment going." That's what he said. So here I am, about a month off of medication. Actually, it'll be a month. It'll be 4 weeks tomorrow. I'll be off of medication, and I'm not looking back. And so I'm actually waiting for my appointment, where I'm looking to get cleared, meaning the label of type 2 diabetic being removed, not like history erased, but just the label removed. I'm looking for that to be removed in 2 more months, because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, we all want to know. Y'all know I'm popping with this question. How you do that? How you do that right there? Y'all know everybody's trying to figure out, how did you get that blood sugar down without medication?
Well, honestly,
can I say my famous statement before you talk? My famous statement. When you give your body what it needs to thrive, it will. Okay, go ahead, Pops.
Okay. It's not rocket science. Okay. And I want to put a disclaimer out there myself. Okay. In addition to I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, but Dr. Deedy is. But in addition to that, and this is not self-deprecating and poor self-image talking, I'm nobody special. And I'm going to say it again, I'm nobody special, because what I did after leaving the hospital to, let me just say, my blood glucose levels are normal right now. They have been consistently under 100 waking up over the last 3 to 4 weeks, consistently. And what I've done is what I should have been doing prior to being in an emergency room clinging for my life. And so before anyone try to crown me, like Denny Green said, anybody understand NFL? And before anybody try to crown me to be somebody special, about, "Oh man, that's amazing. You're off your medication. Your blood glucose levels are normal. Your A1Cs are great." All I'm doing is what I should have done. And it's okay. I ain't trying to get blindsided here, but I just feel stupid. It's like you big dummy, like Fred Sanford, because all I'm doing is what I could have done. And then I never would have made it to the hospital for anyone to be saying all these good things about me. Okay. But what I did was I adapted a low to no carb diet. I'm not going to say no carb, because it's really, I want to say, I think Dr. Deedy, you'll confirm this, it's pretty much impossible to eat without partaking in any carbs for the most part.
Yeah, and there's some healthy. That's why I love. Y'all know Coach Ro gonna get. Coach Ro know all about that. But definitely, there's good carbs and bad carbs and how they burn and so forth. And so
yeah, I mean, just saying, the thing is, but the reason I'm qualifying that with that is because I am doing a low to no carb diet, meaning it's essentially no carbs. Okay. Right. But the thing is, no carbs is really not, it really low, no carbs. It's just that it's like it's no carbs, because the whole idea is to eliminate them, because carbs is sugar for the most part.
Right.
So the thing is, if my sugar is too high, then it's like a bank account. If you got $10,000 in your bank and you are putting $10 a week in it, but taking out $1,000 a week, your bank account gonna be depleted quickly. So my bank account is the money is representative of blood, I guess, and or should I say blood sugar, and I'm not putting in that much sugar, but because of my activity, and then at the times in which I'm doing it, it's helping my blood sugar to be depleted or come down.
Right. So, I'm glad you said yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is, the activity is, like I said, I'm really just walking. I'm not like throwing weights up. I'm not doing Rochelle's HIIT trainings and nothing like that. All I'm doing is walking. Okay. I'm just walking, and I walk. I was walking twice a day, but now I've switched in one of the walks for being on the bike. Okay. And the key for me is to be active for at least an hour. That's the key. So my walks are a little bit over an hour. And then when I'm on a bike, I'm on a bike for an hour. And so what I do is I also, and I'm not trying to get too much into this, because we could probably talk a little bit more about it. I guess we had question and answer afterwards or whatever. But I think the biggest thing that really helped is not just what I'm doing, but how I'm doing it. Right. And what I mean by that is, yes, it's important to change your diet. Protein and vegetables for the most part. Water is the only liquid that I am consuming. That's the only liquid I am consuming. Water. Okay. And so I only eat in a 6-hour window. Okay. And the other 18 hours, I'm not eating. And so on my eating is sandwiched by exercise. So before I eat in a day, I do my exercise. And after I eat, I do my exercise. And so during the time period when I'm not eating, I've exercised twice, and my body is in recovery when I'm sleeping. And I think that contributed to the profound results that I'm receiving. And it's not rocket science. It's just like I said, it's the timing of it, because I realized, like, even the last couple of days, I woke up with my sugars elevated slightly. When I'm saying elevated, I'm not talking about danger. I'm just saying higher than I'm used to, because I got a high standard, because I ate too late. When the time is too late, now I'm infringing upon my recovery time on the back end, because I'm not giving my body enough time to process the food that I just put in it. And so now by the time I'm going into my fasting period, which is when I'm not eating, basically, then the body can only do one thing at a time. It can't process food and recover at the same time. So I think I realized that I have to make sure that I stop eating at an early enough time, so I can allow my body an opportunity to do the work.
Let me give some pathophysio before you get into it, Coach. Just real quick. Pop said fasting, and he also said activity. I'm gonna hit on these 3 points real quick so Coach can have it. But when your body goes into fasting phase, the pancreas, remember we talked about B cells and insulin, it has A cells, glucagon, right? Insulin builds, glucagon breaks down. So what happened is, remember I told you, the body gonna get sugar by any means necessary, right? So when you go through fasting and it's not getting the sugar by what you're eating, it's going to all those stores. I told you, right? Insulin then packed your cells full of this sugar, like this fat. It didn't build it all up. So now you're fasting. They're like, oh, we're not gonna get it from here. Oh, we got a storage back here in all of these cells, right? So it's going to get the sugar that then branched off like this tree behind me, and it's clipping it down. So glycogen, right, is giving it immediate sugar. Your fat cells, they call it lipolysis. That's why they call it the ketone diet, right? The lipolysis broken down, you get these ketones, right? And in addition to that, you got the fatty acids a little bit different on how they get back to glucose, but there's a cycle for that. But everything that's stored up is going to break down. The beautiful thing about fasting and what it's doing is supplying your brain, your heart muscle, right? All of these tissues with the sugar that it needs without you necessarily needing food. Why is that important? It makes insulin, right? Insulin hasn't been able to in type 2 diabetes. Let me keep saying that. Insulin is resistant, right? I was trying to tell Coach the most thing that I can think about with these, the liver and it being fatty, insulin can't get to the places that it needs to on the cells to open up the gate for more sugar to get in there. And or there's some type of like the glucose transporter is not working. There's all these things that could be happening, but the pancreas is not broken. So when you start breaking things down and you start cleaning things up, then your body start, like you say, recovery, and your insulin actually can start doing its job. Your glucagon can continue to do its job. So then you don't need to take outside, right, insulin to decrease your glucose, because your body, right, already is sensing, okay, I have decreased glucose, I'm gonna go get it from somewhere else. So it's not getting that extra buildup of sugar. In addition, the liver is doing the same thing. When you go out and you exercise and walk, it has a direct effect on lowering blood glucose. That's not related to insulin. It's not related to medication. It's not related to the pancreas, anything. It has a direct effect on your liver. So your activity is directly causing your glucose to decrease.
Yeah.
So these are all of the benefits of what you're talking about, that fasting phase and also the activity. Go ahead, Coach.
I just wanted to say when before Pops came home, I was doing some research, on now I'll tell you, and people know me, I don't do keto. I tell people I don't do keto. I don't count calories. I'm not weighing food. I don't do any of that. I keep it very simple. But I start to look into intermittent fasting, right? And when he was in the hospital, I was sending him videos to watch. I said, look, man, I think, we got to check this out. This doctor, what he's saying made sense. It made sense to me what he was saying and how he could lower the A1C, lower the glucose levels. And so when we came home, we had a plan, right? So we already knew we're going to eat clean. I mean, right? That was simple. We already knew we were eating clean. We knew it was going to be protein and vegetables and water right off the break. But beyond that, the intermittent fasting, so we had to find the window, the feeding window, and the fasting window. We had to find the window. And then the whole exercising after, and that was we found that out. But exercising after he ate and before in the morning, that was kind of experimental, but it was working. So we were putting together our, crafting our own plan. You know what I mean? For him, perfectly for him, experimenting with foods. Like trying to see what, how his body was responding. So in this whole process, he was taking his blood sugar a lot of times in a day, because we were trying to see. We wanted to know exactly, like how his blood sugar was affected. So we would test it before he would eat. We'd see what it was after, and then 2 hours after. You know what I mean? So so it was a lot of experimentation going on, and so we said, "Oh, we got it." And so we was like, once we cracked the code, to get health and wellness, say, boom, there it is. And then it was almost predicting what it would be, and it just became, like we knew what to expect. And even we knew, okay, apple, you're going to eat apple and peanut butter, it may take up a little bit, but you're still going to be good. But we began to know based on what we were eating, how his blood sugar would be affected, because we were just, trying different things, still under the radar though, but just seeing how something would make it go a little bit higher. And then, so it was, yeah. Go ahead, Pops. I know you want to add some more to that.
Yeah, I just, it's so much I could add. And the thing is, I think it's worth noting also, I think I would be remiss if I did not say this, because I am one of the fortunate ones, because when Dr. Odom, he said, stop taking your medication, and the fear, for lack of a better word, and the excitement going through my mind and my heart, I knew that whatever it is that I could do, that I would do. but there was one thing that I could not do, and that was make it so my pancreas did not suffer irreparable damage. That was the one thing that only God could do. And so it's a shame. That's why I said, like Fred Sanford, you big dummy. It's a shame that it took that, because some people, they could go through that and still not do anything differently, And so I just think for me, I was just saying, if my pancreas can do the work, then that's a wrap, because all I can do now is what I should have done, and so that day when I woke up the next day, I was still kind of leery, because I was thinking that maybe, some of the medication was still in my system. So I was like, maybe I got to wait a little while long, because maybe it's still working and I need to get it out of my system. But I think it's pretty safe to say about a month later that everything is working the way it's supposed to. So I just don't want that to be lost, because, God did what only he could do. Mm-hmm. There's no way I could look inside of me and tell what the condition of my pancreas was. And the doctors did all what they knew to do, prescribe me medication. Mm-hmm. And so I don't fault anybody. In fact, like I said, I keep telling, every time I talk to Dr. Odom, I tell him I appreciate him like maybe 5 or 6 times before I hang up the phone, because I don't think every doctor would have did what he did. Mm-hmm. I mean, and Dr. Deedy, I want you to share, the news that the doctor said he was going to do. I think it'd be sounding better coming from you.
Coming from me.
Do you want me to say it, or you can tell it? You tell it the way you tell it.
Listen, I'm trying to get on board with all this excitement. So, are we talking about the case?
Yes.
So I'm so excited. This was new for me, and I think one of the questions, I think a lot of people are going to say, how can that be me? Because I found your motivation to be almost intoxicating, because it was such like a whirlwind. You guys got to understand, we see so many patients, and it's like a dead end for them. That is written all over their face and their emotion. They're just like, okay, I'm gonna go get my refills. But for somebody to come to us and say, listen, can you help me go down a different road? Because the road that you're offering me, I'm weary of taking. So I commend you. And I'm probably going to ask you a question like how you feel like Coach Rowe is like playing that part, so that other people can get family members to play the part with them. But what's so beautiful about this enthusiasm that you have in this motivation is that the doctor who was taking care of you was like, listen, this is some good stuff. Even me, some good stuff. So he was like, I'm gonna do a case study, right? I am going to, look at your case individually, check your numbers. I'm going to follow you, and then I'm going to do a write-up on how this can benefit more people. And what's so exciting about that, he's got a resident, he's got some, y'all know, I was like, can I help? Anyway, can I just get on? What, you need me to write some numbers down? Because in my lifetime, one of the things that I want, my grandmother passed away from a diabetic emergency. I never got to meet her.
Wow.
There's so many different things. Like, I know that people on this phone call know somebody or affiliated with somebody that's struggling with diabetes. They have complications, they're on insulin, they're on medication, whatever it is, and you want a different way of doing things if it's possible. That's why I'm constantly reiterating time and time again, please don't change anything that you're doing without a medical person with you, because it can cost you, like we just said, had Coach Rowe not done certain things, it could have been different. So please don't change what you're doing. That's my disclaimer. I am not giving medical treatment up in here today, right? Okay. I'm just telling you guys.
No, nobody is.
Yes,
yeah.
Please consult your medical professionals. But what I am saying is that this case study could definitely change people's lives, just because one person said, I want to live and not die. And I don't want to just live. I want to live to life. I I want to not be on so many different medications and having to check my blood sugar and then poke myself and things like that. What else is there to do? What are my options? And what's so beautiful about that is, you know, the number one thing when we was talking about pre-diabetes is everything that you're saying. This is what we try to teach our patients every time they come in. And maybe they're overweight, maybe they got a little bit of hypertension, maybe they're pre-diabetic. Can you change your activity? Can you change your diet? Can you lose some weight? Your blood pressure is affected by these things. Your diabetes is lower risk. You have lower risk for heart attacks. You have lower risk for stroke. All of these things allow you to live and not die. So I commend you. I am so ecstatic about your motivation and the propensity for you guys to say, not only am I doing it for myself and I'm doing the test and I'm poking myself before and after, I'm doing activity and I'm checking my blood sugar. Now that I've seen a month of a great space, that I'm seeing consistency in these numbers, not only am I going to do it for me, I'm going to go and try to figure out how I can help somebody else. That's the beauty about Mr. and Mrs. Parks, is that you guys are not just taking this as a personal commitment to just yourself. You're trying to help other families. And that's why I'm so on board on what you're doing, Coach Ro.
Yeah, first of all, we thank you, Dr. Deedy, for just giving of your time and expertise. And we knew how important it was to have a medical, doctor here, a medical professional, because we are not, we're not medical professionals. Like I said, we're not prescribing, we're not doing we're sharing our testimony, right? And I say ours because, it happened to my husband, but that affected our entire family. So we're sharing our testimony. And then what we're doing now is, my husband, we both say there's no way he can keep this to himself. It's like God didn't spare him so that he can keep this to himself, because the reality is, and we talk about it, there are many people that are finding out, for the first time that he was even in the hospital. Like, there are people at church that didn't know. As we're sitting here, people are hitting me with text messages and say, was that this year? Like, that, just because nobody knew, like everybody didn't know, and so he said, he was just saying today, or he said, you know what, we can not talk about this and I can go on with my life and only those few people will know. He said, but I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. We got to help people. We have to share. And so we started a diabetes coaching program,
That's right.
Diabetes coaching program. And we have our very first client. And Mama Ruth says she's going to kill us if we don't give her a shout out. So shout out to Ruth Braxton.
Hey, Mama Ruth.
Hey, Mama Ruth. And she's doing fabulous. Numbers are dropping. And just by, as we say, for those that follow Dr. Eric Thomas and ETA and CJ always talking about, the blueprint. Like he said, we're giving out a blueprint. Well, that's what we're doing to our clients. We're giving them the blueprint. And so for me, I'll just tell you how excited I am, because when this was happening and we saw, because I say all the time, when you give your body what it needs to thrive, it will. And I know that type 2 diabetes is preventable and reversible through nutrition and exercise. Like, I know that to be true. I said, and told my husband, I said, man, I'm sorry this had to happen to you, but oh my God, I'm so excited. I said, because now we have empirical data,
Right.
we have empirical data. Like I already knew this to be true, but now we really know. And honestly, I used to kind of, doubt myself, as far as cooking. I mean, even though I could cook, whatever, I'm like, no, I'm cooking. I'm cooking these meals. I'm getting this blood sugar down, but he's out there doing the work and I'm just preparing the meals and like, no. And we experiment. So, well, let's try this. Like, I'll make something. He said, it's going to be an experiment. Let's see what it can do. And he was like, okay, no, it's still good. And so, but yeah, so we have empirical data, we got the blueprint, right? And so we have our very first client, Miss Ruth Braxton out of Jackson, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Yeah, Jackson, Mississippi. Steph Jackson's mom, shout out to Steph. I'll tell you, Mama Ruth, we call her Mama Ruth. She shot me a text message like 2 weeks ago, and her words were, she said, I want to evict diabetes out of my body. I said, then call me now. So we connected, got her on the phone, my husband did, and now we're like this. We're like family. We're like family.
Yeah.
Me, her husband, my husband. We FaceTime yesterday for about an hour. Was it about an hour, Pops? I mean, we just, like the whole family's on board, and she's doing well. Her numbers are dropping, and so I invite you guys. I'll just say this, to apply for the program, because we're taking a limited number of clients. But absolutely, we want to help people, get off that medication, and reverse diabetes, type 2. We're talking about type 2 because we feel like we have the blueprint. Pops, you got something you want to say to that?
Yeah. Well, I think we need another disclaimer, because, as I said, I was fortunate. And the way I see it, I'm just Michael L. Parks, and the world, they don't necessarily know who I am, but people at this house know who I am, and the people who I'm connected with in church. But it's not like, if for some reason things didn't turn out the way that they did, it won't be like a Kobe Bryant situation or Steve McNair, or Prince or Michael Jackson. It won't be like that, And so I just feel like, I feel it's important to say that, the word says that God doesn't take pleasure in people dying, because, he's not looking to punish us for our bad decisions, because we're going to make them. We're going to continue to make our bad decisions or bad choices. He's not looking to punish us, but what he wants from us, he wants us to turn to him. And we can't turn to him if we're dead. We can't sing his praises or talk about his goodness if we're dead. And so I believe firmly that, yeah, my family would have mourned me, had, things kind of went another direction. Life would have went on. People would have been like, what happened to Pops? What, Pops gone? It would have been that. Then after a while, things go back to normal. But I think God spared me for this purpose, because as I was telling Rochelle earlier, I could easily go on with the rest of my life, and the majority of the people that I know didn't even know that I was even in the hospital. And then it'll be like, oh, hey, Pops, what's going on? They would never have known. And I just think that would just be robbery. That would be negligent. That would just be so bad to receive the blessing of recovery and just going with the rest of my life as if it was nothing. That's the reason why I've been drinking from this every day. It's a reminder every day of what happened to me, where I came from. I don't know how long I'm gonna drink from it, but so far it's been every day.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys a question? Pops, do you think that you would be this consistent without Coach? Do you think that you could have done this all? I mean, I'm just asking you just a viable question for those people who maybe are single moms out there. Or do you think that this would have been as motivating if you're out there by yourself trying to get things on track?
Let me see. I don't want to be on a couch, so let me see. The reality is this. I think the simple answer is having her definitely helped. That's the simple answer.
Okay.
But I don't want it to get lost in the fact that we make our own choices. Right. It's like I said, I could be Tiger Woods could be my brother, but that won't make me a great golfer. Right. You know what I'm saying? I still got to do work. I still got to do something. It's only so much that she can do.
Right.
If that was 100% the case, then we wouldn't even be having this talk.
We wouldn't even be here. Yeah.
We wouldn't even be here. It's about choices. Everybody make choices. And so the thing is, I just don't want anybody, I want to take people's excuses away. Because somebody might say, oh, you did that because you live with the health motivator. No. So what is she? She in her office with a remote control, controlling me, making me go outside and go on walks, making me go downstairs and be on a bike, forcing me to eat food. No. This is a choice. We have a choice from the moment God wakes us up, because we don't wake ourselves up. We have a choice from the moment God wakes us up. He wakes us up, then we decide to get up. It's a choice.
That's true.
And from the moment we start the day, all these choices come. The further we get through the day, the more choices we have. The more interaction we have with people, the more choices we have. If we want to be hermits and stay in the house, we limit our choices. And we limit our ability to have an impact on the world too. So it's hard to have an impact on the world when you're not interacting with people and going after things. And so like for this here, definitely being here helped. Definitely, her cooking, the way she's cooking, and her having a mindset that she has, because I know for a fact there's a lot of people who are in similar situations as far as trying to do certain things with their health, but they don't have the support of their spouse. And so it's hard. It's not impossible. Hard is not impossible.
That's right.
It's just hard.
That's true.
So the thing is, it's just, it's helpful to have the health motivator in your house, but it doesn't mean much if you doing your own thing.
Right. So because actually, to be honest with you, right, you were doing the complete opposite, and she was in your house, and you still, what I mean?
I wouldn't say complete opposite.
Okay, I'm sorry, my fault. My fault. I put a little extra on that. How do I get you guys? Say for instance, I'm about to, say for instance, have an office open, and you guys come and see me, and maybe before you went to the hospital, say for instance, and you come into the office and you're having, I say, hey, you're pre-diabetic or you're having complications, you might have to start taking medication. How do I get you motivated before I start talking about medications to do the exercise and changing the diet? How do I feel like your motivation was internal, but Coach Rowe, what has been your experience of getting people, I know it's their choices, but what are your necessary tools that you use in your back pocket to get people motivated to come out of that hermit shell and to start saying, you know what, I am going to live and I'm not going to die. And I'm sick of being the person that's taking these medications, feeling ill or gaining weight or whatever it is, so they can get over these hurdles. What do you think that'll take?
Well, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Even me, everybody has a why. You know what I mean? Everybody's driven. I'm driven because, as people know my story, I've lost both of my parents and 3 brothers. I was a family of 10. I'm a family of 5. My mother was diabetic. My father had high blood pressure. My brothers had, health complications. But when I'm talking to people, it's about ownership. I think, we're in control. It's like, because we think we're so not in control of our lives, that's like the route. To me, that's the path of least resistance, to say, that's easy to say, I can't control. And so a friend told me many years ago, she said, Rochelle, I control what the scale says. I control it. If it goes down, I did that. If it goes up, I did that. I did it. Right. And so, but we think of the, like when it's bad, we didn't control that. We controlled that too. Right. And so I just try to get people to have, like, no, you can control the good. You control. If it went up, that was you. That you control that. But guess what? You can use that same control to make it go down. So for me, it's just a matter of choice. So getting people, I talk about mindset transformation, because if you don't change this, nothing I tell you will, and we saw that even today early on the call, is this has to change. You can't get people to change. It can't be emotional blackmail. It can't, cry and you gotta change, and then they do it for a minute, but they haven't changed this. And so when you do this stuff, I call it false positives. You can do this, and you're gonna get the steps in, but you haven't changed your mindset. You know what I mean? So it won't last. And so it has to be. So when he looked me in my eye, and when he was telling those doctors, like, I'm not going to be, I believed them. I knew it. It happened just like that. But I know my husband, and I was just like, but they don't know you, but I knew, I believed them. I'm like, okay, here we are. It's game time. I'm ready. This is what I've been waiting on. I knew it was game time. And so you can kind of see when I'm working with somebody, I can almost kind of sense when that switch flips, and I know when it hasn't. I'm like, oh yeah, they just playing. I have conversations with my husband all the time about people like, yeah, they're not ready. They playing. They're not ready. But it's something that has to happen inside. Mindset transformation. It must, it won't last. You'll do something for a minute, right? And then you'll fall back. You know,
church finger.
The church finger.
Church finger. Look, I want to live there a little bit longer because the name of this talk is To Live and Not Die. The choice is yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's the title, right? But this is Mindset Talks.
That's right.
So the thing is, I think we as Shannon Sharp says with Skip Bayless, let that sink in.
Yeah.
Let that sink in, because the thing is, Rochelle said that it's different for everybody on one side, but yet it's all the same.
There you go.
Okay, it's different for everybody because everybody has different set of circumstances that they're living. People have different bodies. People have different family dynamics. That's where it's different. But where it's the same is you got to have a change in mindset. So the thing is I firmly believe that the mindset does not change with the person. And what I mean by that, in Romans 12:2, I believe, it talks about being transformed by renewing of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can't renew our mind, only God can. But we have to ask him. It's like, the thing is, if we don't say we want to change, then nothing that we do will matter. We're going through the motions. We can do all the right things, but if our mind isn't in it, it doesn't matter. So the thing is, if our minds are wrong, our actions are going to ultimately be wrong, because our actions stem from how we think. How we think is from what's in our heart. That's where it goes. So God, he has to change our heart to get to a point where our mind is thinking right, so our actions can be right. And so everything falls into place. It's like you hit one domino and it falls. The rest of them have to fall when they lined up. You just hit one. That mindset is the one domino that matters. Because once that one domino falls, all the other ones are lined up. They have to fall. So when a person is in the right mindset, all of the work is coming. The right work is coming because the right mind is there. So that's why you get like, well, I can't believe that, because they're not thinking right. You know, they're not thinking right when they ain't talking right. That's how you know. The Bible says, you know, a tree by its fruit. I know that's out of context, but it's the same thing. You know a tree by its fruit. You don't get apples from a pear tree. So when people are talking wrong, you know their mind is wrong and their hearts are wrong. So you don't have to talk to people that long to find out that they ain't ready, because they just ain't saying the right stuff.
Yeah. Well, doctors only got, remember I told you, doctors only got about 20 minutes. We only got 20 minutes, man. So yeah, definitely. I do want to be, more motivating for people to take the opportunity to start doing things before they get into those emergency situations. I thank y'all so much for sharing your testimony. It's been phenomenal.
Thank you, Dr. Deedy.
Yeah.
Sister,
thank you.
My sister, Dr. Deedy.
I know, right?
Yes. Look, I know it's we went way over. We've been talking for an hour and a half. I don't necessarily see. I thought the main question I saw in here was, what did you do? And I think we kind of went over that. But Ashley has posted our link in there to set up a consult, so we can see if if you fit the program, if the program fits you, if you fit the program, whatever. But for those that are interested, just click the link, set up a consult, and we'll see what happens. But we are taking a limited number of people. But yeah, that's it. Unless someone had a question that we didn't discuss. If not, that's it. This is awesome. Dr. Deedy, thank you again.
Thank you guys so much. I want to leave with this. I believe in my heart that you guys are going to bless so many people. And I just want to be on the sidelines cheering you on to let you know that if you can help, 20 that can go and teach another 20, we can change it being, Pops, you being the 20% and most people being the 80%, and how we can transition some of those people over with that mindset to get to that 20, get that 20% to a bigger number, and the reason why I'm saying that is because education is so important. So Coach Rowe, what you've done is you set up a platform where people can get educated about diabetes and figure out how they can go back and help their loved ones. I'm going to tell you guys this. Don't go to the hospital alone. if you got a friend, anybody that love you or whatever, if you got to go somewhere and get medical checkups, take somebody with you so they can reiterate these strong points that are being talked about at the medical office. So maybe you can start doing things before you get so sick. The second thing I want to say is anytime that we have kids and things like that, Pop, you mentioned that, if I pass away, things are going to go on as normal. Yeah, we're going to live life, but life is going to be a little bit less fulfilling with you not there.
Absolutely.
And I say that to say I've lost my father. There's so many things I can go into about that. But if we can find out a way that you don't have to put that type of infliction on your family members by educating not only you, but also the family to know the signs, the symptoms, what to do in those particular situations, and not these myths, but I'm talking about actual things that save your life, like knowing to get a glucose machine, knowing when things. So educating families is so important. So I'm just reiterating, don't go to the hospital, don't go to the doctor's office by yourself, bring somebody with you. So it's a lot of information you get in 20, 30 minutes, an hour. It's a lot of information being thrown at you. Get educated about what you can do about prevention. Prevention is key with type 2 diabetes. All right, guys, that's it.
Yeah, there's some questions in there. I'll go back and address some of those in the chat, guys. But thank you so much. Thank you for staying on. It's been, hour and 40 minutes or so, but I think it's been rich. Pops, do you have any lasting comments before I shut it down?
I'm so thankful for Dr. Deedy being here and anchoring us, because I think it's very important to have your expertise here and the medical perspectives to kind of help bring everything together. It's like when you baking some bread, if you don't have that yeast, it's gonna be flat.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate you, Dr. Deedy, and I look forward to just our relationship continuing. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
y'all can't get rid of me that easily.
No. I wouldn't even try. Hey guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is Rochelle T. Parks. I want to thank you for having Dr. Deedy on and Mr. Michael L. Parks, aka Pops. Again, I'm Rochelle T. Parks. I am your health motivator, and guess what? Whether you like it or not, I really do not care. I can, I will, and I must continue to walk alongside you and help you to achieve optimal health. Have a great day, guys. See y'all later. We're out.
Bye, guys.
That was great.
Hey guys, before you go, I just want to let you know I am hosting a 7-day fruit and vegetable challenge on the 1st of the month. Guys, I do it every month. I've done it for the last 2 years. You say, why do I need that? Well, let me tell you what can happen in 7 days. In just 7 days, you can rid your body of the addiction to sugar, the addiction to salt. You can get rid of inflammation in the body. Guys, you can get mental clarity. You can sleep better. So many great things can happen in just 7 days. So don't delay any longer. Go ahead and click the link below and go ahead and sign up. We're getting started on the 1st, okay? I'll see you on the 1st. Let's go.